Hey guys, Sundown here. This is gonna be my chapter review to Nanatsu no Taizai, or the Seven Deadly Sins, chapter 342, Victory Cry. Now this was a weird chapter because not much actually, like, when you think about it long and hard for like 2 seconds, not much really happens this chapter. We get the idea of something happening for quite a decent chunk of the chapter, but not much actually happens. And in that space of time where not much happens, something could have happened, i.e., the sins could have all just been killed, everyone could have died, but nothing like that happened. So let's go through the chapter and like my opinions on it and how we're feeling and all that good stuff. I've not split this up scene by scene, but I'll try to do it as we go on the fly. So this first scene is essentially the battle against Cath. Now the first two things here are Diane notices that Cath is regenerating. Cath's pissed off, like, I'm sick and tired of everybody getting in my way. But Diane's surprised by his regenerative capacity, and we have King here actually ask something quite useful for once. He's like, is this the same kind of immortality that Ban has? And Merlin makes mention of the fact that Cath is a being who transcends life and death itself. This is something which I'll get back to, which annoyed me upon first read of this chapter until I got to the futurescape, we'll call the future edition of the Sins. So when we see Cath frozen in time, that part, it's a being who transcends life and death. Actually, I'll just mention now. So the being who transcends life and death itself. I thought, how could he be frozen in time if this is an organism, a thing that transcends life and death itself? Normal things shouldn't work. It transcends life and death. How do we know that anything within the human realm can actually touch this thing, can actually damage this thing? How do we know time applies to it in the same way that it does for humanity, the same way it does for demons, goddesses, giants, fairies, whatever? How do we know that? Because life and death doesn't apply to this thing. That is related to your time. How does anything else apply to it? But then we get to see that was all bullshit. So Cath then gives this whole speech which I think could have been delivered in a better way. I'm not sure if this was the best way to do it, but basically what Cath kind of delivers is this nihilistic vision of the world. You know, all countries will eventually fall. Demon Lord's 7 sins will fall, humanity will fall, everyone will die, the sea will vanish. Camelot would have eventually died out anyway. So the idea, what he's trying to propose here is, stop trying to fight against something which you can't fight against. Death is inevitable. Your end is inevitable. Everything's end is inevitable. Everything will end eventually. So stop fighting against it. Let yourself end. So the reason why he's saying all this, he's spewing all of this shit, because the reality is, everything will come to an end. But if there's nothing between the time you're born and your end, which you've dedicated to and you've provided meaning for, then that's worthless, right? And he's just saying, no, that's not worthless. Just give up and hand me that time that you would have had left. No, that's some bullshit. And so any sane person would just be like, maybe I'm not gonna just give up. And Arthur seems to be that guy. He's like, so you're telling me I might as well just let you eat me? The reason why is because Cath obviously wants to reunite with the rest of Chaos and then, swallow the world, as he later says. So Meliodas, Ban, the Sins, they ready up and they decide, okay, enough chit chat, let's kick the shit out of this thing. So we then get the double spread of them kicking the shit out of each other, really. And if this double spread had actually, like, because of the way the rest of the chapter went, I wasn't so annoyed by this double spread, but I'm still kind of annoyed. This is all the combat we get against Cath this chapter. I was hoping we'd actually get proper combat. We'd get someone clicking, or someone realizing how we can actually defeat Cath, and then they're playing on each other using combo attacks, and then essentially deliver the killing blow with Arthur or something like that. I'm hoping Arthur is the one who actually delivers the killing blow, because I want to see someone besides the main heroes actually do something. That's where a story evolves. And it's the same complaint I have with One Piece. It's the same complaint I have with all things shonen, which is, maybe the main villain doesn't have to actually be defeated by the main character. That's a trope that everyone follows, but that's not something that necessarily has to be the way that it is. If I were to write a story, and a side character, or maybe not one of the main characters, but for instance Law against Doflamingo, I would have preferred it if Law had the more of an opportunity and had actually delivered a killing blow or the finishing shot against Doflamingo, because it would have made more sense from a story perspective, maybe not from a power scaling perspective. But Luffy didn't really have as much beef with Doflamingo as Law did, so I feel like Law's story would have come full circle a little bit if he had been the one to deliver the finishing blow. But then again, you have to take in the concept of Law being Law definitely being weaker than Luffy, especially in a brute force combat style like they had against Luffy versus Doflamingo. But this is all the combat we get. We see Ban doing some flips and shit. Meliodas looking like he's about to assume some sort of Thai god. Everybody's looking like they're doing some awesome shit. And then suddenly Merlin freezes Cath, and she suspends him in his time. And I was about to explode. At this point in the chapter, I was about to pause my read of the chapter and go watch Griever's review, because I was going to be like, this is going to be the biggest bullshit I've ever seen in my life. Griever's going to explode. Like, I want to see him before I read the rest of this chapter. But I took a small break, didn't watch Griever's review, and then I continued reading this chapter. And somehow, some way, it progressively, it got worse over the next page, and then it just went into straight the fuck territory. And then it went back into just like, what the hell was this? Nothing actually happened this chapter, so we'll go into it. So Meliodas is just like, oh yeah, Merlin suspended him in his own time, and he's just there, Cath, midair, stuck with half of his limbs missing and stuff like that. And he's just like, all right, we'll cross the bridge, that bridge when it comes to it, in the sense of when Cath reawakens. And I knew something was suspect when Merlin's just like, oh yeah, I can imagine maybe in another couple dozen years or centuries he'll reanimate, or his time will have returned to him or some shit. The suspense will have vanished. And I was just like, there's a big difference between a couple dozen years or centuries, plural. You know, the 200 years minimum versus 24 years. There's a big gap between there. I'd expect Merlin to have more of an idea of when Cath would return. So then Elizabeth and Meliodas give each other that look of, we're about to do this thing. And they say goodbye to Merlin and Arthur and stuff like that. And then suddenly we flash straight into the future, and Meliodas is getting married to Elizabeth. You see Griamore, Hauser, you see what's his name, Gilthunder crying. You see Bartra crying his ass off. And what I thought was actually really cool here. No, actually, wait. Let me give a summary of that initial scene. So that initial scene left me confused. It left me wondering what the frick is going on here. Like, was that the fight? That double spread? Did they seriously just finish off Cath and suspend him in time and be like, all right, well, when he reawakens, we'll deal with him then? Well, when he reawakens, he's gonna probably kill a few people before he gets to you. Are you really gonna allow that to happen? You know, do something to him, or consider, go back home, consider something, write down a proposal as to how we're actually gonna deal with this problem, rather than coming back once he slaughtered the whole village. So I thought the first scene was a bit weird, and if that had been the actual flow of the chapter, I would have straight rated this like a -5. It was a horrible way for this chapter to go. So then continuing with the wedding. One thing I thought was really cool was I keep calling her Meliodas, Elizabeth's wedding dress. I think it looks awesome. I think her jewelry looks awesome. I think her earrings are cool. Her veil kind of and her flowery kind of tiara looking thing, and I think it just looks like a very solid dress. Then they have a conversation in the palace gardens, saying how Elizabeth wished that everyone could have made it to their ceremony. Apparently, Ban wasn't leaving Elaine's side because she's with child. And then I think most people my age and probably above and younger probably shuddered at the same time, like, ugh, Elaine with child. That's like I don't want to think about that. And then the fairy king and queen, so King and Diane, had gone back to the fairy realm, and Gowther and Hawk have their own lives. So they didn't even get a developed future story. They were just like, oh, they have their own lives. They're doing their own thing. So here we get, I wonder how Merlin and Arthur are doing. They're probably busy rebuilding the kingdom. We get a flash forward within this flash forward, which is Meliodas, is it true that Ban has died? And I was like, really? Ban's dead? And we get Diane and King, who are apparently still in the fairy realm. Then we flash forward within this flash forward of a flash forward where Elizabeth's on her deathbed. And I was like, the heck is going on? Everybody's dying real quick. Like, is this being axed? Is the series just stopping after this? Suddenly, this guard runs into Meliodas' room. Cath is there. He's murdered a whole bunch of people. This part's really gruesome. And Cath's just there like, oh, so you're alone today. Have the other guys just... Are they dead then? And what I want to make mention of here is Meliodas in his king's cape and his king's outfit. He looks sick. He has a different sword. He has a huge cape. blackened pants, and then he's wearing this like doublet with the fur lined cape and fur collar as well, black collar. It looks awesome, especially when he assumes his demon mark form, where his eyes are blacked down. He's got his blackened mark. He looked sick. So I was like, you know what, Nakaba, this chapter might have been dog shit, but at least Meliodas looked dope as fuck while this was happening. So in this flash forward, Cath is kind of trying to convince Meliodas. Now he's like, this is the possible, basically the reason behind this flash forward, and I assume he's doing the same thing to everybody else, is if this is a possible outcome, if this is one of possible futures that we could go into, you might as well just let me kill you all now. You might as well just let me kill Arthur, seeing as it's all inevitable. I'm showing you right now, everybody's gonna die. You're gonna be alone. You're gonna die eventually. Your kingdom's gonna die out. The mountains are gonna die out. There's nothing left. Everything that you want is inevitably gonna leave. Is gonna inevitably gonna leave you by yourself. So give it up. There's nothing that's worth living for. Give me Arthur. Essentially, he just wants to reunite with Chaos. But then we get a little bit here where even in this flash forward, Meliodas is just like, no, I've read fairy tale. My bonds will never go away. And I was like, okay, cool. And then Meliodas wakes up. He's like, the fuck is going on? And we're back in the present. Cath is just looking at them with all the Sins fighting. So we're back where Arthur's lost his arm. All the Sins are fighting against Cath. And everybody else is in this, like, someone on Reddit said they're in the Infinite Tsukuyomi. And I was like, holy shit, this is Infinite Tsukuyomi. So everybody else is still in that Genjutsu. They're still in that illusion. Meliodas has somehow broken out. I assume he got through his faster, or maybe his bonds will never break thing shocked him out of the hallucination, whereas everybody else is probably doubting inside their hallucinations. And this is where it was really stupid, I think. Meliodas is like, what did I experience just now? Was that a hallucination or reality? And Arthur's behind him just sweating, apparently, just chilling. And I was like, okay, how long has passed since they were entered the hallucination, and since they entered the hallucination, and since Meliodas is now awakened, the end of his hallucination? How much time has passed? We'll get back to that. But Arthur's just there like, it's not reality, and it's not a hallucination. What it is it's an uncertain future, like one more take on the world. It could happen, maybe it couldn't. I don't know. Many worlds theory. I'm just like, what? Like, come on, man. Just it's an uncertain future. It's one of the futures that can happen. Okay, cool, but how does this progress the story though? It's just like, all right, cool. You've threatened Meliodas and the Sins with, you're all gonna die anyway. But that's none of it. That's not something that would make me quake in my boots and think, maybe I should just let everyone die now. I'd be like, no shit, we're all gonna die in the future. That's kind of the issue of mortality, right? We can't fix that. We're not gonna fix that. I don't give a shit about the future being like, yep, you're gonna die eventually. That's cool. I'm gonna do what I can right now. So this was the take of this chapter, which was that nihilistic sense of, we're all gonna die anyway, let me kill you now. I feel like Cath's argument and his persuasion here is really not working for anybody. It's not going to work for you. It's not going to work for me. It's not going to work for the Sins. It's a really shit argument. And the fact that Nakaba thought, this is a brilliant argument, this would make anybody waver. No, it's not going to happen for anybody. And that's where I'm just like, I don't understand what the premise of this chapter. Maybe you guys can help me out. Griever, maybe you can help me out. All the other guys, none, all my subs, let me know what you guys thought. Am I missing the premise here? Like, the premise of this chapter seems to be Cath shows you what a future looks like. It's decrepit by the end of your future. It's alone, but it's lonesome. Your friends have all died. Everything has changed. There's nothing really worth living for. Why not just die now? That's a poor argument, no matter who you present that to, unless they're obviously mentally unstable to begin with. But none of these guys, I don't think, at the very least, apart from maybe Merlin and Galtha, I think, are mentally unstable. But then Arthur's just like, we're fine, but we're not going to be fine for long. Cath is doing the same thing of, I want to kill you. I want to eat Arthur so I can reunite and be unified with Chaos and then swallow everything. This apparently ignites the penny drops in Arthur's head, and he's like, oh shit, I figured it out. I know how to defeat you now. So the what I infer from that, or the suggestion, I keep thinking implementation. That's not the word I'm looking for. The implication there is, Cath says, if I eat you, then I will become fully unified with chaos and swallow everything. So Arthur at that point realizes, he's like, oh, I know how to defeat you. Is he gonna basically just slice up Cath and eat him as he goes along? I think someone actually mentioned this on Reddit, and I laughed at it. And then I was like, wait a sec, holy shit, this could happen. He could slice off body parts of Cath and eat them as he's going along, uniting basically that part of chaos, whatever little bit of chaos is in there, with Arthur. So he progressively gets stronger. He's adding to his percentage of chaos. Let's say Arthur's 80% chaos and Cath is 20% chaos. With every bit of him he eats, he adds a percentage, so he becomes 81, 19, 82, 18, and all that, until eventually he becomes 100%, and there's nothing left of Cath. Is he going to eat Cath in order to defeat him? That would be a really weird way to go. But coming to the end of this review and this chapter, what actually happened? So the Sins start a fight with Cath. The fight is stopped short because actually before the cool shit goes down, that double spread, they're put into a hallucination where they see a whole bunch of future possibilities that would make them waver in their faith to protect Arthur and themselves for some reason. And then Meliodas comes back to reality. Nothing, this is another point actually, nothing happens in the time where they're in the hallucination. If I was Cath and I just got everyone in the same genjutsu, I would have killed all of them. I would have killed you all. Every single one of you guys. And for some reason, Cath is just there watching, jerking off to everyone being in this trance-like state. I'm just like, maybe you could have killed him. I don't know. So Meliodas wakes up just to see Cath, and he's like, reality, something. And now Arthur knows. So really 3 things. Fight started, fight stopped, and hallucinations began. And then we come back to Sins being still alive, and Meliodas being weirded out, and Arthur saying, oh shit, I know how to defeat you now because he said something about eating me, and maybe I can do the same to you. This wasn't a great chapter. I mean, like, I'm so weirded out by the structure of the chapter. It was a cool take. I'll give him a cup of that. And he truly, well and truly duped me. He didn't dope me with anything. He well and truly duped me when we went from that initial scene of we've conquered the freaking Cath, let's just go and get married. That took me for a straight ride. I was like, the frick is going on here? And then when we came back, I was like, thank God the rest of that chapter didn't happen. But then I was like, wait a sec, the rest of this chapter didn't happen. What the frick was the point in this chapter? We didn't learn anything really. All this chapter really played on was the fact that the last 2 pages, Arthur somehow found out through something Cath said how he could probably defeat him. And I was like, this chapter really wasn't thought out that much. I don't think. Maybe it's just me. I just thought it was quite poor. I didn't like it. I'm gonna go watch Griever's review after this just to see what he thought of it, because I wasn't liking it. This has been a longer review because I couldn't be bothered to write out the key points, but I think I did a really good job of making it not a page by page review. But let me know what you guys thought of this review. Let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and I'll see you guys on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I think, maybe Wednesday. I'll see you guys in a bit.